I was born and raised in a small town in the countryside of Upper Austria. Situated in a valley framed by mountains, woods, wheat fields and flowery meadows, it was the perfect place to grow up. When I think back to my childhood, I remember how my sister and I would play outside all the time. We'd play hide and seek in the woods, climb the trees. We would ride our bikes and play ball, and do the things that kids do. On Sundays, we would go to church, and afterwards, we'd have lunch at the town's inn. Mondays and Fridays were market days. That's when the farmers from the area came to town. They set up their stands in town square and sold their products. Meat, dairy products, homemade cakes, and stuff like that. Thursday was sausage day. That's when our town's butcher sold his freshly handmade sausages. We would walk there with a big bucket and bring home the sausages in the boiling water. That way they tasted the best. There were about 4,000 people in our town, but only a small part of them really lived in the center of town. Those were the old families, who had lived here for a couple of generations. My family was one of them, and my parents were well known and well respected in town. That way, I grew up in an environment where whenever I stepped out our front door, people would greet me by my name and ask how I was doing. Everybody knew everybody, and most people were even related to each other in some way, just the way you picture your typical small country town. I guess it was nice in a way, to have people know you and ask how you are. Almost like the community was a big family. But there were two sides to that coin. As I became a teenager, realizing that I was kind of different from other people, it became a burden that everyone knew everything about me. I felt like there wasn't a single step I could take without people noticing it and talking about it behind my back. The town kind of got too small for me. I just wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to see the world, travel, see new places, meet new people. By the time I graduated, the thought of staying in my town forever was unbearable. The last thing I wanted to do was being born and growing up and growing old and dying in one and the same place without having seen anything else. So I was very happy that after I graduated, I was able to go to college in the next bigger city. And after I graduated from college, I wanted to move away even further. So I took on a job as an au pair, and I went to the United States for a year, where I stayed with a host family near Boston. During that year, I traveled a lot, and saw many places, met new people, and I finally kind of found myself. It was a really important year for me, and it was great to just get out and see something new. Sometimes it was really hard to be away from my family and everyone that I knew, but in a way, it helped me grow as a person. After my year abroad was over, I did shed some tears about having to go back. I was looking forward to going back to my own country, but while I was in Boston, the place kind of grew on me, and the US became a second home for me. It was really hard leaving that behind. After I was back in Austria, I still didn't want to go back to my small town. It just didn't feel right for a young person to be there. There was nothing much going on. I just wanted to go to the city. So I moved to Vienna. It had always been a dream of mine to live in that city. I had a rough start. The first job I took on was, let's just say that the working conditions were terrible. I took on my second job and that wasn't much better. I stayed for 6 months and then I quit. My third job was way better. I'm still working there and I'm pretty happy there. I also found a great apartment in Vienna. And I made new friends. I started my transition and I've really grown to love the city and all the people there. On the weekends, I still go home to my small hometown. And now that I don't live here permanently, the place is kind of growing on me again. I could actually picture myself raising kids here, should I ever have a family of my own. Now that I'm traveling back and forth between the city and my hometown, I'm sometimes kind of torn between. I feel at home in both places, and it's kind of hard having two homes to move between. Sometimes I wonder where I really belong. Vienna has many opportunities for me. People are more open-minded and less conservative. There is an LGBTQ community there, which I don't really have here in Upper Austria. Being torn between all these places, I sometimes wonder where home really is. What does that word even mean? They say home is where the heart is. I think home is where the people who love me are. The place that I can just go to and be me. I'm happy in the city now, but if I'm honest with myself, I'm pretty sure that maybe a couple of years from now, I may actually move back to my old town. Because no matter where I go, I don't think there will ever be a place that is so ingrained in my mind as this one. I could walk these streets with a blindfold on, and each corner holds so many memories. I did learn a lot about myself here. Because even though this place is not perfect, it will always be home.